Jeff Robbins from Hunt, engineers, architects, and surveyors, and he'll be assisted by Chad Snowberg and Brian McWigan from Welliver, McGuire, Welliver. Yeah, pretty cool.
Thank you. What's that? I'll take mine. Yeah. So, go ahead. Right, am I able to change it? Oh, great. All right, so our agenda, very simply, we're going to take you through the schedule, kind of how we got here today, and where we are with budget, an update on that, and then an update on the high school design component. So for schedule, this project's split apart into multiple phases, multiple components, and this kind of lists out all those different phases. The very first phase is the elementary phase 1, which was substantially complete going into the start of school. And we're working through closeout requirements that we expect to be complete by the end of this calendar year. So by Christmas, we expect to be all closed out with that project. DWT is a district-wide technology project that we bid earlier this summer in the spring, and we got the asbestos abatement done this summer, and we're starting to do the other construction work. And that's happening during the school year and on second shift throughout the whole district, mostly the elementary buildings. Now, the high school project is what we've been focused on largely for the last, 8 months or so, and we've completed the SED submission, and to the state that went in on Monday. We've gotten some comments back today, very limited. This package was 3 volumes of specification, each one this thick, and about 487 drawings, full-size drawings. And out of that, they had comments on 2 drawings. So we're for their pre-screening piece. So one of them is already dealt with, and the other one we're going to respond to tomorrow. So we expect to have our review number right away, and that gets us in the queue for a review. We're also looking for an expedited review, and if that all comes together like is expected, we are hoping to go to bid over the winter and then start construction in April. And we'll be coming to you more about that updates as we go along here this fall and into January. Then the middle school, that design we're expecting to start here next month and get rolling on that project. And then following year we're going to work on completing the elementary phase 2 project. Now for budget, broken down the same way based on the phases. Phase 1 is in closeout. We're about just over $500,000 under budget. And the district-wide tech project is in construction, and we're about $1 million under budget there. And that's with the contingency set aside for construction. So that's available funds to be reallocated. And then the high school design development estimate, that was a midterm estimate this summer that was done, had us at about $500,000 under budget, and that was based on some alternates that were set aside. And we talked about that at the last meeting. I'm going to revamp what that list is with you here in a minute. The middle school is at budget right now because nothing's been done yet. The phase 2 elementary project is over budget. Now that's misleading. So you see in the quotes there, scope was moved from phase 1 to phase 2. And that, or am I saying that right? Yeah. So by doing that, the funds need to move also. So the leftover money in phase 1 will actually get moved to phase 2 to cover that work. Because once we really got into what could be done this summer versus in the next phase of that project, we had to align the scope with what could be done at the proper time. Okay? Yeah.
Do you recall just high level what was moved?
I think it was mostly roofing, wasn't it? Mechanical?
We had some additional mechanical work that had to be added in phase 1, so they could go between Gardner Road and maybe Ridge Road, some additional mechanical work we identified, I think.
I believe it was
Between mechanical work and roofing work.
Okay, that's fine, just curious.
And it was really, thoroughly thought through about which was a priority to make sure that got done first, and then we weren't holding up that quick approval. Okay? So but nothing really different when you think of the elementary together, it kind of washes this stuff out. And then, there's a reminder of the referendum value, the 94 million, and right now, we're under budget by 1.4 million, at the DD level estimate. Now, with this set that we've completed and given to the state, it's also been put in Welliver's hands, and they're going through their contract document estimate. So there'll be another update to that here in probably about 2 months before, sometime in December. We'll go through that and make sure we're on target before we go to bid. And we'll update you with that information once we receive it, okay? But leading into that, our planning has led to the next slide, which is these alternates. So with that being under budget, we've set aside these alternates that are in the package of drawings we put together, but not in the budget. So a separate price will be bid for these, and then you'll have some choices to make to see what the priorities are. So there's some bathrooms, area H, which is this wing, second floor, classroom renovation, which doesn't change the layout a whole lot, that could be set aside for a future phase. And then a second chiller. So this is kind of a key component that we haven't talked a lot about. We have planned being able to include air conditioning in the whole building, okay, for the infrastructure side. And any new mechanical piece of equipment that's going in will be able to provide cooling. So with that, there's a couple of chillers that provide that cooled air and cooled water to get to the what we call a terminal unit, a unit that serves an individual room. So all the individual rooms will have the infrastructure, the piping will be in, that's all in the budget, but the chiller is several $100,000 worth of equipment costs that could be added at any time, okay? And it was never planned to have air conditioning everywhere. There's been a lot of conversation about that in this last year, and so we want to make sure we're accommodating it and providing the infrastructure as needed. And if the funds allow, you can choose to put the chiller in to do all the classrooms.
That's the whipped cream.
Yeah. So, we will have cooling for all the assembly spaces, the 12-month spaces and the cafeteria and the library, those spaces will have cooling in the basement. And then the bleacher, now, I need to remind everybody, when we went into the vote, it's been a year or longer since we talked about this, but there's a certain amount of funds set aside for the stadium and all that work. And we do as much as we could do, and if the second phase had to be there to finish it out, that's what would have to be done. One of those things is how much bleachers to put in. And it's amazing how expensive bleachers are. Okay, so we have multiple options here. We have a base bid home bleacher press box that you get no matter what. And then that's, I think, about 1,200, 1,300 seats. Okay? Right now you have about 2,300 seats in your home bleacher. So it's less, right? So then an alternate to expand that to be at least at 2,500 seat home bleacher. And then another alternate to either move your existing home bleacher to this field or to replace it. And we've been working with the manufacturers on what's the best alternative. Right now, there's not much cost difference to move it or to buy it. So there's going to be some choices to be made there. There is a slight difference in cost to reuse. It's a little bit less, but not as much as you might hope. So we're still working through that, and we may just bid it as, let's get real numbers from somebody that's willing to do that move, Because it's a quality bleacher you have there, and, it'd be nice to continue to use it if possible. So we're looking at different options on that. And the parking lot would be expanded further. The base bid includes all the number of parking spots you have now and just, reconfigured and relayed out. But this would be expanded for a few more spots. And then improve the south drive here along the outside of the building, this corner. Right now, the base bid was always to kind of stop in the back here. But it's not a great condition coming around the corner of the building. And we'd like to see the opportunity to improve that a little bit. So we put a design for that in the project that we get us up the price for. Any questions about those alternates? The designs will show a little bit of that, a little bit more, but not everything.
Just to be clear, make sure I understand.
Yeah,
So if you go back a slide, you show
Yes.
$478,000 under budget for high school at the design development phase. That is without the inclusion of the potential cost of any of the alternates listed on the next slide.
right. So if that holds true, you can choose to spend that money on some of those alternates.
Right. And or to the extent there's greater, the project as a whole has a positive budget variance. But but to be clear, that at this point, none of these potential alternates are included in the budget estimates.
And you also have the $1 million left out in the district-wide tech. So really, you have the 1.4 million to choose to spend on those alternates.
And that 1.4 million as a projected variance, we still have all the contingency that exists to deal with unexpected costs and things. So
Absolutely. Yeah. We're not diving into that at all. It's just that.
And do we know like what phase or what time we would weigh in on these alternates?
Yeah. So like I said, we'll do the Welliver will do the construction document estimate. That'll give us a better idea and see if that holds true to these numbers. If it holds true to this or something similar, maybe when they re-estimate it, maybe the number is now 1.2 or 1.6. I don't know exactly where it'll be. Then we expect to go to bid with all that list of alternates that you'll have a choice to accept them or not, or to wait, right? We expect that to occur about March timeframe. Before you award the contracts, you'll have that choice. Okay? Yeah.
I have a question about the earlier slide though, just quickly.
Yeah.
On the slide 3, the project schedule. Are the elementaries you have substantially complete? I'm still, I think, seeing roofing supplies near some of the schools. Are the roofs done? Or is that next year? Or?
That was weather related.
Yeah.
I understand.
For the,
I see substantially complete. I think.
you bring up a great point. So, essentially, there was some work that could not get completed in this season. So the work that occupies the building is really, to be fair, that's not substantially complete. We've allowed them to delay the roofing work until next season because of the weather we had this year. They just couldn't get it done. And one of the complications that really led to that is the roofs we were replacing is this foam type roof, and it doesn't lend itself to an easy transition. And you really have to rip off a whole bunch of it if you're going to touch anything. And that gets complicated to temp it back in. And if you don't have a good window of weather looking out a week or longer, then you don't want to tear that off because you're going to end up with a ton of leaks in your building. So that was normally a lot of the roofing replacements we've done, we've either had the ability to do that, or it's been single ply membrane replaced with single ply membrane that you can just go along as you do the replacement and not have to tear off a large chunk at a time. So your existing condition complicated it, plus the weather, and it was just made sense to everybody involved to wait for. Yeah. Was there anything else like that? Is that?
No, for the most part, it was big flats road. You're going to see some things getting buttoned up, but for the most part, those are standard expected closeout items that we expect to be done by the
Yeah. So it's just that roofing. And then there is work going on the elementary with the district-wide tech. So it's hard to see where one project ends and another one starts because there's work just continuing. Yeah. And then, so some of these renderings aren't as far as long as we had hoped. I want to just say that here. And we're going to continue to update these. We've been so focused on the technical documents, which is what is needed for the state, that the renderings and the kind of prettier stuff hasn't progressed quite as much. We're going to do that now, but this shows you kind of the idea. This is base bid, the way it's strung. This area right here would be that added parking alternate. Okay, this triangular space. Here's the base bid bleacher. So we would have additional bleacher here and here for the home side, and then this is where you put in the visitor side bleacher. Now, the thing that we chose to do as base bid is the entry plaza and ticket booth and concessions and bathrooms and some storage right along here. So that deemed to be very critical to be able to open up this stadium and have those services had to be there. So we couldn't make as much of that as alternate as maybe we talked in the past. There's still future planning for future projects that add more storage and team rooms and all that. But we needed to do in this project, base bid, this amount of that outbuilding. It's a little faded out, but all the blue represents the addition. So this is the Link edition, this is the library edition, and then of course you can see the main parking and drop-off zone. This corner right here is what I was talking about as another alternate. To just give more space to this corner and alleviate that congestion and tightness as you're coming around the building. So that's an added scope item that we're designing and we included in the design. So there's been a lot of conversation about and planning about the turf and what it would look like and the materials and logos and all that. None of that's kind of showing on this rendering yet, but we'll give you some of that I can cover up in the next presentation. Yeah.
Basically, is there home and visitor locker rooms or team rooms?
Not in the base. The base, there's no team rooms at all. There's a large men's bathroom and a large women's bathroom, which we had to plan that for our build out of our bleacher system. The number of pictures is based on the number of seats, and it's not as easy to expand the bathroom as it is to expand the bleacher later. So that's why we chose to do the bathrooms first.
One of the things that I can add, Jeff, is in our next budget discussions, our capital project may be needed to explore the expansion of those team rooms, the shells. It's just something we've talked about, so we haven't vetted it.
So the idea is that there would be a visitor team room off to the east and a home team room off to the west. And we kind of thought through the design a little bit.
A question about I think the base bid parking is what's in the darker gray.
Yeah.
So that, I'm trying to envision current state, that's extending out to what's now the field, right?
A little bit, and what you have right now is a whole bunch of outbuildings in this zone right here. You have all those storage buildings.
Right.
And whatnot, and yeah, that soccer field follows this line right
And
here.
then there's kind of a little bit of an
Yeah.
Would this still have that elevation drop, or does it contemplate that getting?
The parking lot
Grading.
wouldn't, but going into the field, there is a bit of an elevation drop. We are building up the field a little bit because of drainage issues, but there is still an elevation drop. There's stepping down in a ramp going down in
The parking would be a level.
Yeah, I mean,
For the most.
yeah, it has its internal drainage structure.
Okay.
Coming back to the team room then,
Yeah,
are those added in as part of the expanded bleachers on the home side and
no,
they're separate from those?
this would need to be a whole new project to go beyond that.
If you could just show them the locations potentially.
Yeah.
If you look at the concession area, one team would be one on one side, one would be angled on the other side, so that storage can also be built onto that as well, and sort of encompass that end of the field, so that you really have to come into the field to be part of the game.
If we added up all of our alternates with the information we have now, it's more than the available budget already. So they consider more alternates at this time. It didn't make sense because just the money wasn't there. Yeah.
So, what's our theory on when you play football? You walk from the current field house all the way over? Is that where you change and then?
We would have the ability of the team rooms in the south gym as well.
we've had conversations both ways. And I'm not sure there's, the coaches are speaking, they're not really sure what they would do yet.
Okay.
But they were accepting of those two ideas. Okay, and then this slide that we've had shows really the area of the building that's being renovated is the bluish purple color, and then the orange color is the additions that are happening. Okay, the red shows the alternates within the building. So one of the bathroom alternates is down in this wing by the cafeteria. So you get your bearings, here's the cafeteria, the north gym, auditorium, and so forth. Here's the new library.
Jeff, can you go back to that one and just explain that one little blue thing way?
Yeah, I can do that. So one of the things that happens, as you really get into this and trying to figure out construction, how we're going to build this while you're using the building, you can imagine the complications of that. There's been a lot of discussion about that, how we would sequence through the building. There's a lot more to come. But one of the things, we have to provide an exit off this side of the building while some of the stuff is going on. So we had to take over one of those rooms and do that, and then it made sense to just leave that exit there permanent. So that didn't show up in any of your other drawings we've shown today. But that was something that came up in a code evaluation. Construction sequence. And then the second floor, again, you can see this is one of the bathroom alternates, and this is the second floor classroom alternate that we have. And then for the, this is the plan we've been using with the user groups and whatnot to show where each department is going to be. I'm not going to spend much time on this. Nothing's really changed. We have the math, business, art, health, and science on the first floor. And then we have English, social studies, humanities, and then foreign language and science on the second floor. And then special ed is sprinkled throughout the spaces.
So we're moving folks. We're moving departments around.
Yep. Yeah, there's been, this planning for this is started last year, and it's developed with all the user groups. They've all had their input, and I think it came across pretty well. There were some times where people weren't happy about where this was or that was, but we've been able to work everything together, and I think every department is pretty well satisfied with where things ended up. And this is one of the renderings we've been working on for the site, and it shows that parking and the field in the background there. You can see where, this greenery where there'd be added parking here in the alternate. A little hard to see, but this is the outbuilding, and the entrance to the stadium is right through the middle of that, and the ticket booth, and steps down into the stadium. We'll get some closer ups on that.
Just a question on this is, since we're not sure about the visitor bleachers, should the visitor bleachers be on this?
On this rendering? Yeah, we expect to have multiple renderings. So my goal is to show you a rendering with the base bid, and then show you a rendering with the alternates, so you can see both. So we will.
I would just be cautious for this to get out in school review, because
Okay.
then if we get to the point where we're not going to put those bleachers in, then we're going to say, but it was on the drawing. So
You made a good point. Yeah, no, good point. We can pull that out. And then this is rendering of the main office and plaza leading up into it. And then this is the lake addition. This is looking from the stadium back towards the building. And then this is just a typical classroom entrance in the existing building. So one of the things that we've been working through is how to work with the finishes that you have and new finishes and transition them. So one of the things that's going to happen is in a new classroom then we're gonna work with the existing flooring too, because it's in pretty good shape, it's all terrazzo. So, we'll have some new terrazzo that complements the existing terrazzo, and then, tile on the wall surfaces.
Are you gonna do like the resin epoxy process?
Yes. Yep. For anything that's new, yep. And this is the cafeteria, work in progress, a little bit on the rendering, but this is a center clear story. That's all that you see is vertical glass that's wrapping that whole area to bring natural light into the core of that space. This is basically looking from the serving area back into the cafeteria. And then this is the library. Not a lot has changed with the library, but some significant things have changed with the library. We've been able to work with the staff on the number of stacks that are needed and the height of them. So in the past, this area here that faces the courtyard had all tall stacks, full height stacks of books, and so you had kind of that visual block, and then there was so much of it was filled with it, they didn't have some of that seating that was desired. So we've been able to work with them and peel back the stacks, put some in some different areas, and we'll have some stacks out in the middle that you could actually move. You wouldn't move every day, but they'll be movable, and then you can have some more flexible seating spread out throughout the library. And then that's the outside facing the courtyard. And that's where we're at right now. Any other questions? Yes.
Just a couple questions on mostly stadium related. I have concerns really the lack of team rooms. I think that's a big concern. I think the bleacher capacity is a concern too. 1,200 seats right now. We stated 2,300 or so on our home side, and then we probably have 600 or 800 on the visitor side. So we're sacrificing a lot there. And just as you build it too, with the grade. If you ever use that for marching band going forward, just make sure there's enough space to move the props if there are a marching band competition, halftime shows, things like that, where there's a logical entrance. It appears there's a path down the side.
Yeah, the idea is straight here.
And that would be fine. Right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to funnel through that main entrance. But
one of the things, Mr. Lynch, is that whenever we began this, we knew there would never be enough money to do everything. So we're trying to get the basis as best we can. But one of the things, to your point, like with marching band, we had those discussions that imagine a team room coming off at an angle. Well, we have the ability in the next phase to put an addition on there for the storage, because there's tons of storage that both Mike needs, outdoor needs. But now you know how you have to move everything from the transportation center over to the field. Well, basically, our ultimate end goal is to get it so that that's the case, so you wouldn't have that transition. And then also have a way that a vehicle can get around as well. So I think those will be taken care of. I think we might be able to creatively work on the team rooms in that budgetary process. The stadium, it's going to come down to some decisions depending on the budget. I know that although there is an alternate, we have some room to at least try to address home and away. Our biggest game is one game. And what happens is, depending on the budget, that's what will happen. They're trying to protect the budget so we don't ever bid over the budget, but then to give us some options. Do we need the extra parking lot versus the visitor bleachers? Do we need AC versus the visitor bleachers? I mean, those are things that until we know the actual number, but we wanted to try to plan for all of them to have some options out there. Is that the best way to say it?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. So. Yep.
From Center Street to the stadium, and from the south wing to the stadium, that that's the area. What's our thoughts about what's going on in there?
Well, in here, we're not doing, that's going to be
It's just gonna be
staging
grass?
area. It's what it is now, essentially. We've had, future designs that formalize this space a little bit, take this drainage underground, give you more of a larger practice field or a modified JV field kind of thing in that space. But right now, it'll be just restored after construction, be restored back to grass.
Currently, we have a full field in there right now, correct, or modified?
Modified right in there,
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And I didn't mention the lighting. The lighting is in the base bid for the stadium, so you have, new LED lighting for everything that would happen out there. Yeah.
Our district has done some really innovative things with regard to keeping our utilities in check. I look at the ceilings in the library and the cafeteria, and they look like very high ceilings with a lot of glass. When I see that, first thing I think of is heat escaping, which we have to pay for. Is there something that can be done to mitigate that or control that? I know you probably have thermal up there, but still.
Yeah. I mean, the energy code and just some of our design standards for the envelope has increased dramatically over the years. And all the equipment is so much more efficient that's being put in. So I haven't studied this, but I'm going to go out on a limb. I would say that with the added square footage, your energy bill won't increase, okay, from what you're paying now. That's because you're heating a large chunk of your building with steam and then heat exchanging it to hot water and doing different things, that when all that goes away and you have a new high efficiency boiler delivering heat to your building, that's going to be so much more efficient than what you're doing now that you can add the square footage and not have extra energy. We've seen that come true over and over again in the projects we've been doing. The library has a unique delivery system. Do you understand that enough?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, we talked about that.
We've put these systems in multiple places called the displacement system. So the way the heating system works is instead of traditionally like what you've got here where all the heat's coming from above and you're trying to use fans to push it down to where the electric heat wants to keep rising, displacement pushes the water in through the floor. So it comes in through the floor, and then when it enters the space, it finds objects to heat. So instead of just pumping a bunch of heat, what it's doing is it's actually finding cold objects within that space and heating those objects, whether it's humans or furniture or whatever that's in that space, and then using that radiant heat to then again heat the space. So all that heat's coming from below in that system, and the reason we can do that is because it's all new construction. So we have the opportunity to put that far more efficient, very minimal cost to you up front, negligible, arguably, compared to a traditional system, but because we can dig those trenches and we can put that ductwork in concrete ducts underground and push that air through the ground and then bring it up from below, it makes that system innately, immensely more efficient than a traditional system that blows from above.
And
that's how we're self-reliant.
And that's also why you're not seeing huge ducts in that space. Where traditionally, say 15 years ago, 10 years ago, these large, open spaces had these huge ducts going through the middle to deliver air down. We were doing this really well. Much more efficient system and really, I want to say state of the art, but you're getting a system that's really efficient.
Well, and no sound. An example of that is I built a space up in Cornell, we call it the interactive classroom, and converted it into kind of a collaborative space, just a big open space. And I've been in a board meeting with the cooling or heating running in that space, and you can still have communication from one side to the other side of the room. There is zero sound. And I think what's really important, Jeff pointed on, is that image is real. We didn't take the ductwork out so that we could see the nice pretty space. We worked really hard, and we pushed those engineers really hard to say we wanted this space to be nice, we want it to be open. We don't want to have to put a ceiling in because we want to hide the ductwork. If we want to put a ceiling in, it's because we want to aesthetically put a ceiling in. But here we were able to keep nice open spaces because of the way we're delivering that heat. And it allows us to bring all that light from that clear story above. So it really ends up being good energy-wise and aesthetically inside the space.
And on the air conditioning side, the chillers that are being Now, remember, you're talking to a couple architects, okay? You can't touch it. But the chillers are able to be staged on how they're coming to, delivered and coming online. So in the past, when you brought on a chiller, you had a huge energy load that was being, taken out. Now it can be staged better so that you can deliver just what you need when you need it. Like in the past, you could turn on this unit, it didn't matter if it was 90 degrees out or 78 degrees and you needed cooling, you were bringing on the whole system. Now we can stage that. So, great question, right? It's moving in the next step.
Speaking of that, and this is probably really control for numbers. Everyone who talks to me about this project is talking about the chillers, the second floor, air conditioning, climate control. So I think any of us want to be reelected. Make that one of our priorities.
I will second that. Every teacher has pulled me aside at some point talking about air conditioning, so I agree.
And if I can just add because some of those decisions, we're going to try to bring you the best package once we know the numbers. But one of the things that we're already talking about, because we knew this was going to be 1, 2, or 3 projects to completely redo the district. We are already talking, how do we go from this project even beyond the next design phase to when we're starting to plan for the next full project. And that's going to come a lot quicker, I believe, than you and I even first thought of. We were looking at least 5 more years out. We're talking about a year and a half out, because it will be able to keep the flow with state ed. Plus, honestly, give them a little more design time so that it sort of hits without. So it might be shorter time that, like, say, we have to endure some parking or some bleacher spectator issues for a couple of years versus 5 to 6 years. So just keep that in mind as you're going. I know we're all working on it. I know that's one of the things I've tasked Brian is to try to put together. Where's our timetable for the next one so that we know where to hit our milestones now, so that we're also not under major pressure like we are. Remember, if you think about it, $78 million has been designed and almost implemented in less than 1 year and 1 day. You guys may want to speak about that.
That's fine. I mean, you mentioned that, but it is unprecedented, really, and it goes to some of the decisions you made just over a year ago to allow us to get started early, right? That's the only way you were able to take advantage of this construction season and save another year of inflation. So some of that savings you see is because you got work done ahead of time, and you didn't endure another year of inflation. Everything costs more the longer it goes on. So, there's a lot of work that's been done to try to get this done as quickly as possible, and, appropriately so. Involve the people that need to be involved. People dedicated time to come to meetings and answer questions, and it's been going really well. Appreciate it.
I have 2 comments. I lived in the second floor, so I would vote for that, but you all know my opinion on that. But we always say it's about the students, so I'd like to hear what Victoria thinks about it. If you don't want to speak, I don't mean to put you on the spot, all right?
Referring to just there.
Yeah, or any or all of it. You're part of the board.
Well, I'd just like to say, sitting in a hot classroom definitely does not make it easier to get through in class. I have heard stories of people fainting nearly from how hot it gets, but I think it's a really big concern, honestly. But I understand, and I respect that there's time and processes into it.
My second question is, because I'm on the committee, I've heard, the facilities committee, but maybe a lot of people I talked to are concerned about we're building a stadium on a swamp. So could you talk about the underground labyrinth you're creating
I can't remember where architects, civil engineers, but civil engineers kind of gave me a prep sheet. It's not bulletized, all right? But, I know that David had some questions about this too, and you know, so we wanted to get some of that input. And I guess that, you know, you can be assured that, you know, understanding that that field right now does not drain, okay? We've taken that into account with the new drainage system that's being provided, okay? It's not expecting it will drain at that location. The water is being dealt with in other ways. That's the main thing. There's, you know, the state has pretty strict guidelines on how you deal with stormwater and how you manage it. And it's you know, a couple of factors. You have the quantity, dealing with that 10-year storm, 100-year storm. What are you going to do with that quantity of water that's being collected? And then the other major issue is the quality of that water as it discharges. You know, we can't just, you know, send all the water we collect right off the site and down some drainage channel somewhere. You can't do that. So you got to handle both things, quantity and quality. Those are the key things. And they've taken that into account in the systems that's been designed. You know, we've done borings out there. We've tested the soil to see how it will accept additional water. And in some areas, like I said, it doesn't accept any water. In other areas, more under the parking lot, it accepts water better. And most of the drainage is actually, you know, counterintuitive. It's going what you would almost think is uphill, but it's really not because it's underground. But it's going to be placed more under your parking lot. So most of the underground drainage structures are going to be up in this area. And as you think about it, you mentioned that the parking lots are flat. Well, they're not quite flat. You know, generally it's a plane, but within it you have slopes to get the drains and whatnot. So those low points are actually not that much higher, at all higher than your stadium. So when we look at the drainage underneath that, yeah, it's we can drain back from the stadium back to the parking lot. And then ultimately, you know, part of the site will go to the west, and part of it will go to the south as it drains off the site now. Those are your two ultimate outfalls of the site. We're going to formalize this, and I'd like to deliver it to the facilities committee. I actually have our engineer plan to come to your next meeting to explain it more in engineering terms for you. But we have the summary also that we can share.
Thank you.
Yeah.
When you do that, could you include some elevation drawings? I mean, some of us are visual people.
Yeah, like a section view of where the structures are?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can absolutely do that. Well, thank you. It was a great discussion. Appreciate you.